Would we be like Smyrna, that he commends in such high words, and so forth? You go right through that in a review. I think every week you can point out to the church, this is a letter from Jesus to a church. Would he write this letter to us right here, right now? The second sermon is what Christ did for the church. And again, this comes from first Revelation 1:5, the last part, and all the way through verse 6. He loved us. He released us from our sins. He made us a kingdom. And notice the American Standard Version says he made us to be a kingdom. And that's, Chip, that's pretty much what you were talking about a little while ago. And then he made us priests. Those are things that he did. Don't hesitate, Taylor or Chip, if you hear something that you wonder about, well, just ask a question. That, or make a comment. Say, I don't get that, or whatever. All right. Facts which reveal Christ's greatness comes from Revelation 1:7 through 18. Christ will come again. Only he's the only leader ever to die who you can say lives again, and he will come again. Uh, Christ is eternal. That is, he's God. Christ's followers have no need to fear, and Christ has conquered death. All those are. I'm giving you the verses straight from Revelation, so you can build a sermon on that and present it even next Lord's Day, if that would be useful and would fit what's going on where you are. Do not be afraid is also from Revelation. Uh, Stop being afraid. And that, Revelation chapter 1, verse 9, that is exactly what you're dealing with. Let me turn there, because that's the use of the original language to help us understand what's going on. So, Revelation 1:9, let's see, has him alone on the Isle of Patmos. Now skip down to verse 17, where we find, and when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead, but he laid his right hand on me, saying to me, do not be afraid, I'm the first and the last. All right. Notice that I have a quote there from Reinecker. That's this little book. I told you about it once. Very expensive to be so little. You might find a cheaper copy. I don't know. I think I gave $25 for it. It's a linguistic key to the Greek New Testament by a guy named Fritz Reinecker. He was a German. It's translated into English by Cleon Rogers, at least the one I have is. I have found him very useful. Here's what he said about the word that is translated, do not be afraid. He says, the present imperative with the negative indicates the stopping of an action in progress. Thus you have, stop being afraid. Okay, do you follow me on that one? That's a little more technical than I sometimes do, but you can explain that to people. You don't have to say, now in the Greek it said, you don't have to do that. Just say, in the original language, this is what one dictionary, and tell them it's a dictionary, a lexicon, or in this case, a linguistic key, is just a dictionary that takes the Greek to English. That's all it does. So don't make the people think that only a scholar could come up with this. That's not true. They can come up with it too. Although they probably don't have Reinecker, they could find some other good source. In fact, I use another source now. This is Stephen Wren's book. Notice that it's an expository dictionary of Bible words. Now, in the back of this dictionary is an index. And the index has the numbers from Strong's. So let's say you found a word in Strong's and you say, well, I wonder what that means. Well, you can you look at the number and then look that number up in here. And when you find the number, it'll tell you what word you'll find the definition under. And open up that word and read the definition. It'll give you something similar to what Reinecker did, usually, not always, but usually. All right, so we begin with stop being afraid. Point 2, Jesus is God. Why should we not be afraid? Because Jesus is God. Point number 3, Jesus is alive forevermore. He's not just any kind of a king. He's a king that lives right now, that we can count on. And then the last reason to stop being afraid is because Jesus has the keys. He has the keys of Hades and death. Now, if the three of us live to the end of time, this will be not as significant to us. But if we die before the end of time, then aren't you glad that he's got the keys to Hades? Because that's where my spirit's going to be. That's where your spirit will be. And he's got the keys to death, so I can overcome the grave. So that's pretty reassuring. All right, lesson number whatever it is. This is a two-part lesson because there were too many points to make it one part. I try to not keep people for an hour and 45 minutes when I preach, so I break them up sometimes. Giving thanks for the blessings of overcoming. Now, in the introduction, I notice that letters in those days, and particularly these letters, all contain these 4 elements: a salutation, or we'd say a greeting. Uh, Hi, is the way we give greetings, if we're out on the street. A description of Jesus. Every one of the 7 letters has a description of Jesus at the start. And then in the middle part, in the main body of the letter, Jesus knows them. He knows that church. He gives affirmation for the good things. He gives condemnation for the bad things. And then all 7 of the letters close with an exhortation. Are y'all following what I'm saying about these letters now?
Yes, sir.
What about Taylor? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you talking about like letters of the gospel?
No, these are the letters. These are the 7 letters in Revelation.
Okay, yeah.
In chapters 2 and 3. So they have a salutation, a description of Jesus, the fact that Jesus knows them, so he praises them and he condemns them, depending on their situation. And then the last thing is he gives an exhortation. You need to do better. I want to build you up. I want to encourage you, that kind of thing. So the tree of life is mentioned in these, and that's Revelation 2:7. That's the letter to the church at Ephesus. In the next one is not hurt by the second death. That is in the second letter, the letter to the church at Smyrna. The hidden manna is a description of Jesus that's found in the third letter. That's the letter to the church at Pergamos that we're talking about. In the fourth letter, he calls himself the morning star, and that's the letter to Thyatira, I believe. Let me double check. I'm sure that is. That's Thyatira, yes. Then the next letter, he says that their name is in the book of life. So we've got the book of life, and that's in chapter 3, verse 5. That's the letter to Sardis. In the next letter, chapter 3, verse 12 of Revelation, he talks about a new name. And he talks about that particularly to the church at Philadelphia. And then he talks about a seat in verse 21. Verse 21 would be to the church at Laodicea. So now you have all the descriptions of Jesus in two sermons. I've talked about each of those letters. Ernest, these things are under discussion. I have posted a PDF with a series. I call it just sermon seeds. They're my sermons, but too many preachers have asked me. They'll ask me for my outline, and then they'll say, when I give it to them, they'll say, "Okay, where's your outline?" so, so I just call it sermon seeds, and you take that, you build it the way you want to. That's the point. All right. So we're up to the letter to the church at Ephesus. And that letter, I begin with point one, words of commendation. And he talks about things he knows about them and so forth. But then he gives words of warning. They all of their works were defensive. And brother, I'm going to tell you something. To the modern church, that's our problem in the United States. We're totally on defense. We're not on offense. If we're on offense, we'll be out there proclaiming the word. We'll be out there trying to win souls to Christ. So that's a concern to me that we're all defense, because the Lord wasn't happy with Ephesus. They were a great defensive church. They just were a lousy offensive church. All right. Words of encouragement. He gives those at the end of the letter. And by the way, the introduction to that one, sometimes I use what is on the back of my card. And I say it was the capital of the Roman province of Asia. The Temple of Diana was one of the seven wonders of the world. It's mentioned in Acts 16:6 on Paul's outward bound trip on the second journey. He visited on the inward trek, made Paul want to return. Acts 18. He returned at the start of the third missionary journey, Acts chapter 19. And then don't forget Demetrius the silversmith, who caused Paul all kinds of trouble in Ephesus. All right, let me pause. Is this of any use to you? What do you think, Taylor? Is it worthwhile or not?
Revelation's always been one of them that I've kind of backed away from, but I've sat in, I think, part of a Revelation class, and I like having this set up kind of the way you got it broke down, but that's something I can definitely build off of.
Good. Well, what I'm going to suggest is every preacher, all these lessons, all the way through the letters, every preacher not only can preach them, you ought to. I'm dead serious. Because this, when you read these letters, you get to the end of these letters, you can say to the church where you are something like this. What kind of letter would Jesus write to us? We've listened to what he said to each one of these churches. What kind of letter would we receive? Would we be like Ephesus, be a really good defensive church, but not very good at offense, leaving our first love? Would we be like Smyrna, that he commends in such high words, and so forth? You can go right through that in a review. I think every week you can point out to the church, this is a letter from Jesus to a church. Would he write this letter to us right here, right now? Do we fit this? And sometimes that's a good question. Sometimes that's a bad question.